Buenos nachos, amigos, and welcome to Record Breakers, your music podcast of choice, where we sit around and share music with each other. It used to be week by week, but not anymore. But we're getting back to it.
We're trying.
We're trying. Them hurricanes and whatnot. I'm Petey Ravier Man Winnow playing. Here, of course, is my team, my squad. We've got Brett.
There's never been a better time to be playing video games.
Yes. We've got Drew.
Ahoy, hoy.
And we've got Patrick.
Hello, party people.
I almost wish my commute was longer so I could listen to more of the Bombcast and Beescast and not have to catch up at home. But that aside, we talk about music here. We share music with each other, and of course, the provider of the music this week is Patrick. Patrick, what do you got for us this week?
I'm going out of my usual. This is neither emo music, nor death metal, nor whatever other garbage I listen to. This is pop rock with Haim and their new album, Something to Tell You.
Yes, it's very interesting. Very much a pop rock record. But yeah, let's talk about some expectations. I didn't know what to expect. I can say that for sure. But Brett, what were your expectations coming into this album?
Well, I had heard their other album. Like I couldn't get away from it for like a couple of months when it came out. So I had listened to it and I was like, okay, let's see how far this goes. Let's see if there are new things that are done. If the shtick has changed any, and I was coming in here kind of knowledgeable, but I didn't quite know what I was going to get into.
Mm-hmm. Drew, what were your expectations coming into this album?
I had less expectations than Brett. I'm probably coming into this like you did, completely blind. I had never even heard of the band. When Patrick said we were going to be listening to Haim, I thought that Corey Haim had put out a rock record that I was unfamiliar with. So that was about the level of ready for this band that I was. I had no idea. But I was interested, if not a little apprehensive, because it's swagger. I'm always apprehensive.
Oh, wow. Breaking news. Corey Haim had an album named You Give Me Everything.
Yes.
And we know what our next record's.
Holy poop. Yeah, that's pretty great. Sorry.
Wonderful.
So, spoiler alert.
Rest in peace.
Spoiler alert. Brett's next album.
Yes. Yeah, this is definitely an interesting album to go into. Patrick, how would you describe this album musically? What would be the themes and elements that caught your attention?
So, Haim are three sisters. They play music. They play instruments, though. Like this is distinctly pop music, but like kind of a pop rock band in the sense that like there's guitars and bass and drums and like some of the songs are slightly rocky, but it is very, very polished, produced in sort of a pop style. Like Brett, I listened to their first album a lot, and I was really excited when this came out. They're just one of those bands that, like, I heard, and I was like, wait, this is kind of good. And in sort of the unexpected, you wouldn't expect anything on modern radio to be particularly good, at least in terms of my taste and what I like. But I enjoyed this and sort of continued to dig in. The thing I think they do that makes them good and unique is their they kind of genre hop a lot, and there's stuff that is distinctly pop, but there's stuff that's sort of modern rock, but there's also sort of like some very Stevie Nicks-y girl rock stuff, and they kind of ebb and flow between genres and sort of themes that you don't usually hear today. Like usually music, it's one genre or two genres crammed together, and this is sort of like 7 genres that sort of happen at any given record.
Yeah. and it makes for an interesting blend. It makes for an interesting mix. It's very much a type pop record. But yeah, Brett, how would you describe this album musically?
Overproduced. This music is probably one of the most overproduced albums we've listened to on this show. It also that musically it almost entirely relies on songwriting styles and tropes of 80s and 90s pop radio, and sort of lovingly steals them to make a somewhat different but totally derivative sound. It's almost an album that was felt like it was written like a Family Guy episode where they had like a big pile of things like audio clips from albums that they thought sounded cool and then built songs around them. And it's not just like obviously they've done this before. It's kind of their thing. But there are things that they take from other already established 30-year-old musicians that aren't necessarily like the hook or the big. They're like little tiny things. They like on this album they did a lot of the sharp enunciating fast staccato lyrics where all of them are talking, but they are talking in harmony, much like a Wilson Phillips. There's also like some weird instrumentation in the back. I mean, yeah, there's a bass guitar, a guitar, and a drummer, but there's also like a million other things. There's like an 80s digital kalimba, I think. There is a sproing. I don't know if you saw it. You heard it? There's a sproing. I still think, is it like a set of spoons that's like set at a weird echo? I don't know. There's Vibra-Slap there, and many others. It's that part is kind of strange. They do cram a lot. It's a very dense sound, sometimes to the point where it's hard to listen to. There's not a whole lot of instrumental gymnastics going on here. Nobody's gonna wow you with their with really a whole lot of anything. It's pretty straightforward, and you can tell that the focus was on the vocals. Lyrically, it's kind of standard fare for the genre, but like standard fare for the genre currently. But the sound is standard fare for like 1991 pop rock radio, which isn't a bad thing. It's just what it is. But there were times where the album sort of had, like you said, Stevie Nicks sound. There was the Fleetwood Mac song, and then there was the I wanted to give this album a fair shake and review it for its own stuff, but it kept reminding me of other people's work, so I always went back there. But yeah, you can if you sit there long enough, you can start seeing the influences that they wear it on their sleeve. It's kind of a thing, and kind of not like it's not so much like we just got done listening not long ago to fake 80s music written today, but like it's obviously modern music. You wouldn't if you played it through a crappy in the store, if you're in a Dillard's shopping for pants, and this came on over the shitty speakers, you might not know what era this came from, because there's not a whole lot of whiz bang like new stuff.
Kind of like how I would hear that "Take Me to Church" song and assume it was Elton John.
I can see that.
That's great.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I never
this
thought of
Elton
it that
John
way, but now I'm never gonna unthink of it that way.
But yeah, definitely.
I hate you for that, but thanks. You're right, but
you definitely see their influences right front and center. But yeah, Drew, how would you describe this album musically?
First, I just want to say I looked over at the TV and was reminded that Skyline Chili is trash.
Fuck Cincinnati. No, it's Bogarts is okay.
I've never been to Bogarts, but yes, agreed. This band is weird. In a really kind of cool way. Yeah, this is not This is definitely not my normal. Pat said this was on the radio. Sure. It's kind of surprising to me that it is on modern radio because it does seem so 90s to me. But at the same time, like, this album is polished to such a sheen that it makes a lot of sense. And the weird thing was, and sort of what I alluded to between these guys in sort of our getting ready, is that this album is mixed in a way that no matter what speakers I put it on, it sounded pretty damn good. Like some records that we listen to here, especially ones with a lot of instrumentation like this has, usually gets lost a lot, depending on where you take it to. So like I'll listen on my headphones and I'll hear most of it, and then maybe in my car, like it doesn't sound as good or something like that. But this one actually on every set of speakers, including my phone speakers, sounded all right. There was something very definitely stuck in the 90s feeling about the vocals to me, and not necessarily in the bad way. Brett brings up Wilson Phillips, and I think Wilson Phillips, as far as like a multi female vocalist group, had some great female harmonization. Like that group of women, like their voices worked together really well, and I think the vocals in this work really well together as well. I think that as well, very well. If I can go ahead and grab from that well again. Hey, I got chokes. Finger guns. There's also some like crazy instrumentation in this too that like did not go unnoticed for me. The bass in this album was super cool. There was a couple of times where, like Brett said, it definitely borrows from years gone by in that territory. There's some cool, funky, like, pops and slaps, but it never bends into, like, the Bootsy Collins funk territory of pop and slap of it, but it does start to dip its toes in a way.
Wilson Phillips didn't have a sick slap bass either.
No,
so.
I didn't say there were. I said the vocals were Wilson Phillips.
I know, but
and then I moved on.
Okay, but now I want to hear Bootsy Collins and Wilson Phillips do their
matchup. Oh my god, I would love to hear Bootsy Collins and Wilson Phillips. What do we have? God.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That'd be dope. But I will bring up another singer that somebody's gonna go, oh yeah. But the guitar had this like sort of bright, punchy feel to it too. And it all mixed together very well for me. It was simple, but at the same time, it was executed to such perfection that alone is admirable. Whether I liked it or not is for a different block, and we will get to that. But this album, the compositional prowess of this group should not go unnoticed.
Yeah. I definitely have to commend. It's very polished. It's very much a polished pop sound. But I have to commend it for being a very polished modern pop record with the true artist, singer, songwriter gimmick. That and not having the indie voice, the indie girl voice. So being that thing, but not doing the thing that every other pop singer doing the I'm a deep singer songwriter thing does, which is having that like weirdly pronounced vowels and like the pseudo fake British accent that's not really a British accent thing. Mm-hmm. So good on them for that. But let's talk about some of the key tracks. Patrick, what would be some of the key tracks to zero in on?
I'll start it out with the Record Breakers thing, Want You Back. It's also the first single. Basically, this is what Haim does. You've got three unique voices, Danielle being sort of the lead singer 99% of the time, and then the other two doing lots of harmonies and backing vocals and stuff. This song, like Drew sort of alluded to, there's some fun poppy bass stuff going on, and it's pop music, but like dancey, but like there's instruments, and it doesn't feel. I mean, it's as Brett said, album is about as produced as an album can get. Sometimes a little too much, but I don't
Grown
mind
in a
it.
lab is the way I would put it.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but it is very produced. But it's catchy in the right way, and I think a lot of enjoying this band is whether or not you have some level of nostalgia for late 80s, early 90s pop music, and I do. So it hits some of that, and I wouldn't say that's the only influence, but that is certainly one of the sounds that comes through in this. Something to Tell You. More of a guitar-driven song, more snappy bass. The harmonies on the hook are really, really, really good, and they kind of do like the harmonies on the hook are like almost wall of soundy, but only there, and it's not like the whole song's that way. And like my one gripe with this band has always been the drums are super programmed as opposed to played by a drummer. But sometimes it works really well. It's sort of their poppy dance influence that gets that, but once in a while it works really well, and this song's a really good example of that. And then the last song on the record, Night So Long, just because it felt very Twin Peaks, David Lynch, movie show kind of music. Like, I'm a weirdo. I like Twin Peaks, and I like the music from it especially. And this song had kind of that atmospheric aesthetic going on. And again, it's sort of, they genre hop. They don't just do one thing. Like, sometimes it's a little like super pop music, sometimes it's Stevie Nicks, sometimes it's like early Sheryl Crow, and then sometimes it's this weird ass stuff. So I like that it kind of goes places, but still feels kind of cohesive and like it all belongs on the same record.
Brett, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Want You Back. They've got snaps and claps, and a lot of reverb. The bass is simple and effective. The pitch shift on the harmonies made me giggle. I don't know if any of you guys have seen what happens when a certain video game guy in New York named Vincent changes the vocals, pitch shifts a voice of a certain Miss Russell, and it makes it's a female voice that's dropped lower, but has not doesn't have the dynamics of a man's voice. Sounds hilarious. It is a woman speaking in an artificially low voice. It's got this weird sound to it. It made me giggle. And they keep doing it. It keeps coming back. It's like it haunts me.
It's a stylistic choice that's kind of
it's their aesthetic.
A little cool.
My answer to it was please just hire a dude to sing these parts. It's one of my handful of questionable production choices.
Well, there's also that weird artifacty warble that they put in too. But I found it. I was laughing at it more than with it, but if I was making an album, I'd put dumb shit like that in there too. It's very unique. Nothing's Wrong. As I was talking about earlier, this is a Fleetwood Mac song down to the raspy high notes and the delayed out synth and the percussion and stuff. And again, we get the pitch shifted vocals. But Little of Your Love. This is where the Sproing showed up. The Sproing showed up to great effect. And also some guitar licks that sounded like they came from a Mel Bay Boogie Woogie songbook. But both of those things I was not expecting. But I had a little bit of problem with the bass on that song. It sounded like the speaker had it had blown speakers or something. There's a point where the fuzz turns to fart noise, and it was kind of abrasive. I went back and listened to it a lot, and it was kind of odd. But there was also a whole lot of that was a wall of sound song as well. There was no frequency left untouched in some parts of it. But there you could go through each one of these songs, and a lot of the recurring themes show up in each. But that's a pretty good mix there. If you were going to if you came here without listening to this, first off, you're a fool, and second off, I don't know that we're going to convince you one way or the other, but you should listen to these things because there's some stuff. If you start digging, you too will find your Sproing.
Yeah. Everyone, you get a sproing. You get a sproing. Everyone gets a sproing.
Tax
You two had their
drawings.
sprawling.
Yes.
You two had some sprawling.
Drew, what would be the songs that caught your attention? What would be some of the key tracks for you?
So for me, Want You Back is a great way, in my opinion, to lead off this record for a number of reasons. A light guitar strum and a great.
Oh, you got.
Uh-oh, your mic cable.
Back?
Yes.
Yes.
Buy
Okay,
a new
cool.
mic cable.
Yeah, I know. Eventually, guys. Eventually. But like leading with a strong, like a light guitar strum and a great vocal sort of works really well. Building up on that is cool. This could have easily. This was the one where I was like, "Is this the right record?" Because like, this could like he said it was new. Like this, like at first I was like, "Is this from like '94? Like the fuck is going on?" The bass line in this also. I said I would mention something. To me, if you lifted the bass from this song and gave it to one Michael Jackson in this era, it would still fit. And I think that's pretty cool. So
Here,
go
Michael
back and
Jackson,
listen to it.
try this bass guitar on. It fits.
Not actually. You know what I mean.
Yes.
Like make the
But no,
bass line-
actually, I know what you mean, but I still don't know what you mean. But we'll have to discuss this later.
in my opinion. Already for You, is a song that like I found myself dancing to. Like it's just fun. Like it is a fun, dancey song to me, and that's awesome. And then it ends on this like slow, like hauntingly beautiful sort of track with Night So Long. It is a very calming, cool way to end an album. Sorry about my ringer being on. But the tone of the whole thing was really cool, and then that abrupt ending was one of those things like it hit, and I was like, "Oh wait, that's just it, isn't it?" Like that album just ended. Like that was just a thing that happened. Like it just pop and done.
And
I was
we're
like-
done.
Yeah, and like it was weird to me too, because like I just listened to like a Vox like video about like the fade out. So in the back of my head, I'm thinking they're gonna end it on a fade out. That makes sense for a pop band, and then they don't. I'm like, oh, that's much cooler. Like I like that better. So that was I don't know, something about that ending was really cool to me.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some really interesting songs that like there's some radio singles up in this up in this piece. That's for sure. But yeah, let's bring it back around the horn to talk about some of the conclusive thoughts. I'm gonna pass it over from third to second. Brett, what would be your conclusion on this album?
Well, there really isn't anything here that hasn't been done. Like this isn't like a groundbreaking, like earth-shattering. The industry screeches to a halt and everybody changes. I mean, and that's fine. Showing your influences is okay, but it becomes a problem when like the super noteworthy things are the loving nods and or blatantly lifted songwriting tropes and styles that others created are what people are talking about. It's unlikely to rock anyone's world. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It just doesn't move the spirit. Unless your name's like Elvis, you've taken, that's, but like, it's fine. It's their thing. They've continued to do it. It's like, it's become a thing that people talk about. I'm curious what they're going to do next time, because there's plenty more things to go out there and be like, hey, that was kind of hip. Let me get the Richie Sambora talk box from
Yes.
yeah. Let's get let's see what else we can get.
Yes.
But this album's okay. It's just
Remarkably okay.
yeah. I mean, it's inoffensive. It's okay.
It's like Dan Barry, remarkably average. Drew, what would be your conclusion on this album?
I don't know if it's the fact that like most of my like music listening that's been like new stuff has been me like doing like Outrun and Vaporwave hits of the past 2 or 3 years, but there was something about this that like I had a shit ton of fun with this record. I really enjoyed myself. Apparently they only have one other record from what I'm hearing from you two chuckleheads, which makes me think maybe I should go back and listen to that other record.
Not just that, they did do a song for the Trolls TV show way back in the day. So, you know.
Maybe I should go back and listen to that as well.
Yeah. You should.
But
watch the video.
I will have to. But it's something that like, I don't know. I had a lot of fun. Like I found myself really enjoying all of this. Like it had a sensibility that I enjoyed. It, like I said, it was very 90s. And if you have a certain level of, or at least to me, it felt very 90s. And if you had a certain level of nostalgia for pop radio in the 90s, like I apparently have right now, which is stupid. I understand that, but it was fun to me. Like, and that's sometimes in music, especially this week, what I want is just some bubblegum poppy fun.
Yeah.
From what I'm reading about this band too, their live shows are like way different as far as like music tonality goes. Like they bring a very different live show than their studio work, which would be interesting to see. In my opinion, like if you, like I've seen bands that like can do a live show and it sound like it's off an album. Go watch a Real Big Fish show, like for that. But like doing something that's like different, like it sounds like they might do on stage, I think would be kind of cool to see. And even if it has the same sort of beat, I'm gonna have fun and tap my toes and shake around a little bit. It's a good time.
Yeah. I went to go see Sting play live, and he pulled out a lute. No, real crowd pleaser.
Yes. Yeah. This is some finely tuned pop music, and far be it from me to knock anything for being finely tuned pop music. The guy that does the K-pop podcast. But I will say like there's a kind of back and forth in my mind with like something like this where like one of my favorite movie is Almost Famous, and one of my favorite quotes is the scene where you first meet Lester Bangs, and he says he's like ranting about music and he goes, Doors, Jim Morrison, he's a drunken buffoon posing as a poet, which is fine. And then, like, which draws ire from a young Polly Perrette, which is awesome. And she's like, I like the Doors. And he goes, give me the Guess Who. They have the courage to be drunken buffoons, which makes them poetic. Which I love that line because it brings up the idea that there is an authenticity in simply lacking pretense. Where like I almost feel like this band could veer into the posing as poets territory if they lean too much into pretending they're singer-songwriters and like whatever, they're like super true artists, whatever, instead of just going, we play instruments but we make pop music. But as long as they stay true to just being pop musicians, it's an enjoyable experience, and I can feel it. But yeah, I think this is a really well made, pretty okay album. But yeah, that's enough of my.
I couldn't have put it any better, Petey.
I don't know if I could.
Pretty okay.
Patrick, what would be your conclusion on this album?
I find myself, there's usually at least one relatively popular pop album a year I end up enjoying, and this is probably mine for 2017. I have a spot for some pop music, and I feel like this is the right. If this is like the first step of pop music getting some rock back mixed into it, I would like that very much. I don't think that's going to happen, but I want to hope it does, because most pop music now drives me insane. But these guys, I think it's fun. It's not, this is not deep and dark and brooding. This isn't super too clever for its own good. It's just like fun music with catchy hooks, and they're good musicians, they're great singers, and they write songs that are enjoyable. This isn't earth-shattering, this isn't the greatest thing ever, but it is really, I find it really enjoyable. And I think that is, sometimes music doesn't have to be, they can't all be Rush. They can't all be King Crimson. Like, not everything has to be super progressive and technical. Not everything has to be super dense. It just can be enjoyable to listen to. And I feel like that, for me, this fulfills that kind of just joyous and fun.
Yes. Well put. Sometimes it's good to have the courage to be drunken buffoons. And that's the key. All right. That concludes our thoughts in full. We get to the main event of the evening. We get to our haiku reviews. We're still doing them. 184 episodes into the show. Because, they're fun.
I hear Japan's gonna double the syllable count.
Wait, really?
Oh, I'm joking. Yes, the haiku authority is going to double the amount of syllables.
They're going to toss away thousands and thousands of years of history just because Twitter sucks.
Is that number right, Petey?
Yeah, 185. Right. At least the file that I'm recording is RB 185.
If it's titled that, it has to be right. Like,
yeah, exactly. Because I'm
we aren't going to count.
But yeah, let's get to our haikus. Brett, what is your haiku?
It's a sister act, but without Whoopi Goldberg. I have hair envy.
Drew, what is your haiku?
Was it expected? Not by a long shot, for sure. Still, I loved it.
Kind of, we got most of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we got all of it.
Did I cut out?
It's bad. It's great. Your finest work, Drew.
It was just crunchy, which is weird, but that's fine. Everybody got what you heard. Well, we heard what you said. We picked up when you laid down.
We'll buy what you're selling.
All right, my haiku. Tight pop rock styling, where their influences bear, polished to a shine. Patrick, what is your haiku?
Talented sisters, cohesive genre hopping, excellent pop rock.
Mm-hmm. And that, of course, concludes our thoughts completely on Haim's Something to Tell You. You can, of course, find it on our Spotify playlist. Play Record Breakers the home game. Play along at home. On that playlist, well, actually, I don't know. Actually, probably from what you've told me, Brett, before the show,
it's there, but you want to go somewhere else if you can.
So we'll have something there for you to listen to on Spotify, but we'll let you know a little bit about where to find it. Or you can look around on your own, do your own homework. But Brett, you got us for next week. What you got?
Well, I'm sticking with the at least the same haircut. We're gonna go listen to Megadeth's "Rust in Peace."
Oh, cramp!
Megadeth gives me the cramps sometimes too.
Oh, I gotta get a banana.
Because I'm rocking.
I was gonna say the Cramps are a completely different band.
You can of course find us all.
And now
God, we killed Petey. We've lost Petey.
You can of course find us all over the internet. Patrick is at Swagger. Brett is at HIBBI2IBIBBRD. Drew is at X2FX. I'm at Petey Rave. The show is at 4 Record Breakers. That's 4recordbreakers.com, recordbreakerspodcast.com, recordbreakerspodcast@gmail.com. Ow! Rebelly.net for this and the other show.
Hit me.
Check it out. Subscribe, like, share. Find us where podcasts are. Do the things. Until next time, hasta los huevos. Somebody get me a banana.
Monkey never cramp. Eat 3 banana.
Oh. Feel the muscle. Oh, I need to hydrate. Oh.